And I wanted to talk a little bit about the budget ceiling, right? So this is a story we've covered a couple of times. It was set to come up in mid-October, and they pushed it back a couple months, and now it was up kind of again somewhat recently here. So this is from late October. Foster Boyle Merkley lead bicameral call to congressional leadership urging permanent solution to debt ceiling crisis. And I'm not going to dive into the wonky political stuff that this piece gets into. I just want to remind my audience that the debt ceiling is a completely arbitrary, politically imposed constraint that is not necessary. It is not a natural occurrence of economics. It is not necessary in any way, shape, or form. What it does is provides political leverage to each of the major parties, more or less to one or the other, depending on the political context, whenever it comes up. So they use it as a political leverage point. It's we won't vote to increase the debt ceiling if you don't give us X, Y, and Z. And almost always that leverage goes against progressive priorities. Even when the Democrats are wielding said leverage, what they will do is kind of what they're doing with the reconciliation bill now, right? They'll use the leverage against the progressives, just like they'll use the leverage against Republicans. So what it really is a piece of political leverage. It's nothing more. There's nothing economic about it, and we need to simply eliminate it. There's another bit of wonky proposal about minting the coin that I'm sure some of you have heard of. All of this basically amounts to getting rid of the idea that Congress has to consistently, whether every X amount of months or X amount of years, vote to raise the budget ceiling. It's just handcuffing yourself totally unnecessarily, you guys. And as I talked about earlier today and have talked about a number of times, we have this idea of fiscal responsibility largely backwards. It is responsible to spend to improve the quality of life of your constituents. That's responsible. It's responsible to spend to try to save the planet. What is irresponsible is to refuse to implement helpful and necessary policies under the guise of a number on a balance sheet. And those who would fearmonger about federal spending would do the latter. So I would love to see a permanent solution to this in the form of simply removing the debt ceiling. No more debt ceiling. It's unnecessary, and all it does is get in the way of useful and necessary policies like the Green New Deal, like the federal jobs guarantee, like Medicare for all, like housing reform, like all the kind of stuff that we talk about here on a regular basis, right? And lastly, I just would like to